if you've had a massive strain of any sort in your muscle, then you're going to want to listen to this story because we're going to show you one of the quickest ways that you can get back to doing all of your activities. And you're going to hear Shannon tell her story. So tell us a little bit about what you did.
Oh, well, I was playing volleyball, and I was like, I'm old, not super old, but 37, and I'm like warmed up, post-college athlete, and we were playing at an open gym, and I went to approach to hit a ball, and when I pushed off with my back leg, I felt a pop, and I immediately sat down, and I was like, nope, and just kind of scooted off the court, and somebody's like, what are you doing? I was like, you don't have an outside hitter. And they're like, what? I was like, nope, I'm not good. And they're like, do you want me to stretch it out? And I was like, no,
nope, but don't touch it.
Definitely popped. Like that was not okay. This is not a strain, like a strain, but like not normal, right?
No, it's a pretty big, calf strain. So, a lot of blood. Even when you came in to see us, there was just still a lot of bruising. So you did a doozy.
I did. And so it was more like, oh, not okay.
And so
I hadn't experienced that before, right? So I've experienced ligament, like joints,
yeah,
ankles mostly, thankfully no knees, and shoulders, but I was like, oh my gosh, like that wasn't close to a joint and that was not normal. And that's not okay. Right. Like this is not a stretch it out situation.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And you're a firefighter. So what were some of your fears with this? Because it's a pretty physical job.
For sure. So initially I was like, oh gosh, I can't play in this tournament. Right. And then it was like, oh gosh, like this might be a problem for my job. Not might be, but like how many shifts will I have to take off? Because I knew immediately, like, this is not a one hit wonder. Like, this isn't a throw ice pack on it. Like, you're going to be okay. Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my gosh. And so that was one of my fears. Like, how substantial is this? Like, what does this look like as a former athlete, as a paramedic? Like, I was doing all my assessments. I was like, okay, I can move it. I have a pulse, like all of this, right? So, and everybody else is like wide-eyed trying to figure out, like, are you okay? I was like, yes and no, right? So it's not emergent, but this is not okay. So then it was like a matter of figuring out next steps to make sure that I could get back to work as quickly as possible. And went and saw an ortho pretty quickly, which was great because honestly, he was like, oh, we can do PT here. And I said, no, thank you. Can you write me a script? Because I have a PT and Empower is awesome. And are you guys okay with that? And he was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, yes. So that was phenomenal. So I was able to get to who I wanted to care for me properly.
Yeah. And so I know after the evaluation, we gave you some stuff, but the second treatment we did shockwave, which is a new piece of equipment that we have that really helps speed up the healing. So tell us a little bit about your experience after the first shockwave.
So pretty much I'm an end result kind of girl. And I know that Stephanie's staff is phenomenal. And everybody at Empower is very specific and recovery minded, individual focused, which is incredible. So I'm like, what is this thing over here? Because again, as a college athlete, I'm like, okay, this is not this is not this. What is this thing? And when I experienced it, it was not like any other treatment that I've ever experienced.
Yeah, it's hard to explain to people what it feels like.
Right. So it's kind of like a Thorogun mixed with a TENS unit mixed with an ultrasound. Right. And so that's the best way that I can describe it. It's not necessarily.
And I describe it as a jackhammer.
And she does. And she told me that first. And I was like, I'm cool with that. Like, maybe not other people will be, but
Yes.
like, I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, jackhammer, do your thing. Right. Um, and so it's awesome, and incredible. And I'm not much of a, I can be a skeptic, but like when it comes to recovery and well-being, I'm like, all right, cool, let's try it. Why not? And so one of the most impactful things for me and interesting was the first treatment. Like obviously the trauma was like mid-calf. And when we're going and Corey was like, how are you doing? I'm like, yep, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. And I'm like, I'm an end result kind of person. And then at one point I was like, oh, that was interesting. And she's like, what? And so I've had trauma when I was an athlete in college, and it literally localized at mid-calf and then radiated around to pre-trauma, like post-trauma. And that's been almost 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, that was kind of cool. And honestly, it helped remedy that. Like my ankle doesn't pop as much. My calf is incredible. And it was great.
Yeah, it can take, it's great for injuries that are recent, but it's also great for injuries that have been chronic. Because what happens at times with our tissues is they kind of can scar down, they can get adhesions, they can get calcifications, they just get like we call them degenerative, because you just don't get that blood flow. And so every time you do something, it's like you can kind of feel it. It's not like it hurts, but you
Right.
just always know, like, gosh, there it is. And you
Yep.
can't massage it out, but this will literally take those tissues, and it's amazing because when it does hit the tissue, because we're always asking where are you feeling it, because if there's areas that aren't normal, we will go and focus on those areas for that third treatment. But
Sure.
it will take those areas and just like almost, I want to say like almost re-injures that area, brings the blood flow, and also increases the collagen production in that area to make it strong again. And it goes away. I've had the same experience with my knee because I've had multiple knee surgeries. And
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I'm going to do this around it. And I'm like, oh, that like blew up all around, where I'm like, well, that's where I feel my soreness.
Right. It's not painful. It just kind
No,
of
it's like,
lights up
whoa.
in a different way. You're like, oh, I remember that. Like
Yep.
that's been chronic for that
Yep.
long. Right.
And I remember, was it after the first treatment or the second treatment? Because I remember your dad sending me a picture of you um, having to do a fire and being able to do it, and share your experience about with that. Because that was after, was that the
Yes.
first one or the second treatment
It
with
was
the
after
shockwave?
the second treatment. And of course, so in Dallas, or in my job, we're firefighters and paramedics. So sometimes you're on the ambulance. And so after I took my multiple shifts off, because I was like, no, I cannot do my job adequately. And then I came back and I was like, okay, I can do it to the needs of the citizens, as a paramedic on the ambulance. But if I got a fire, like that's not a thing. So the first shift back when I was on the engine, I was like, okay. And then mentally, I'm like, I'm gonna get a fire. Like we're getting a fire. Like this is happening. And of course, we got one good working fire. And it rocked it. Like there was fatigue, like normal fatigue, like post injury, but there was no acute feeling of I feel like something's just gonna pop,
Yeah.
right? Like, and this be significant post injury. So I was able to like work through it, do that. Like we did a great job, got the fire knocked down, like did everything we needed to do. And then just like general that I would usually do post in fire, like ice, water, all of that. And felt like, okay, like that worked. Like that was a thing. Yeah.
Which is amazing, because there's no way that would have happened without the shockwave. I mean, to get that quick of results, there's no way, because your calf strain was a massive one. I mean, it was a tear. It wasn't a
Yes.
strain.
Yes.
And so to get that kind of results is awesome. I mean, we this is why we got the unit, because we were just hearing great results. And if there's a way that we can speed up healing for people, then that's what we want to do. We want to get people back to feeling good. We've even had it with patients that have had chronic pain, whether it's been back pain or knee pain, shoulder pain, those kind of things. And they've been able to get back so much faster than, just doing our traditional treatments that we do. So,
I can say that emphatically, like there would be zero chance that I would have been able to been where I was in the timeline without that. Like zero.
Yeah. So tell us what you would tell someone that would be on the fence about coming in to Empower.
Ooh, who would be on the fence about that? If they are, I would say get out of your own way.
Yeah.
Right. Lovingly, whoever you are.
As an athlete talking to another athlete, I totally get it. I'm like,
yes,
come on, get off the pot. Let's go.
An athlete to somebody later in life, like rehab, because I see those multiple times in my job, right? As a paramedic, like you see people in all spectrums and all capacities. But I would say don't hesitate. Whatever hang up you have, think about it and then just wash it away. Yeah. Because the care that you're going to get from Empower is top notch. And when I say top notch, I mean world class, because you are not going to be run of the mill PT, right? Like you're not going to be, and everybody has their own process. But what I can say personally is you are getting one-on-one definitive what you need to get to where you want to be. Yeah. Right. In a session, you're not given exercises to be sent home to do those, or be given exercises to be viewed from afar while people are monitoring 5 to 10 other patients. Yeah. When you're at Empower, you are the patient with a specific therapist, and that's incredible. I don't think you get that anywhere else. And you may, but in my opinion, you don't. And it's very whole person minded to get you to your goals as quickly as you can. And I think that that's invaluable. And you're a patient, but you're also a person, right? So
share your story too, because you had come in, I don't know, a couple of years ago with an elbow issue, and we found out that it was not an elbow issue, that it was actually a thoracic spine and a neck issue. Yeah. And you had been going to see chiropractors time and time and time again for your neck stuff. Share a little bit about that.
I did. So that was probably
I think 3 years ago.
3 to almost 4 years ago now. And I had inflammation in my elbow and like couldn't really straighten it all the way. And again, like my body is my career, right? Like I have to sustain this. So my dad, who's amazing and has been with Stephanie for his shoulder and is now has just knee replacement, right? Nonetheless, he was like, you got to go see Stephanie. And I was like, okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I went, and it was, what was beautiful about the staff and the mindset of Empower is it's not, let's just hone in on that specifically inflammation or source of what you feel the pain is. Like they understand all the mechanics of everything. And so for me, it wasn't my elbow, it was a thoracic and neck issue. And so remedy this can extend, right? And I think that that's a huge distinction. It's not, hey, cool, you can't straighten your elbow, let's just treat your elbow, but like understanding the anatomy and mechanics of everything. And so that was incredible, and was remedied by Empower.
And your headaches and your neck that you didn't even realize were all connected. And
yes. Yeah. And it was also super fun. And a little caveat for my calf, because my dad was rehabbing his knee replacement, and I got to like torture him while we had the same appointment time.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I can tell she's working you hard because you're not talking.
Yeah, yeah. And he was like, "Oh yes, yes, ma'am." Loved it.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story because I know it will definitely help other people out there that have similar issues and are wanting, to find the quickest way to feel better.
Yes, ma'am. And for your viewers, red is normal. And then red when I have to speak is normal as well. Yeah.
I do too.
But
Whenever I go and I exercise, I will get people are like, are you having a heart attack? Because I'll be like bright red and I'll have
yep,
white streaks everywhere. And I'm like,
yep,
no, it's just inherited. It's just the way
yep,
it is.
agreed. But
Well,
Empower
awesome.
is incredible. So
Thank you so much.
thank you.